Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest mistakes people make in life is getting obsessed with the outcome while neglecting the process. They stare at the scoreboard but never play the game. They dream of the destination, but they never walk the road. Let me tell you something powerful today. Results are not something you chase. Results are something you attract by becoming the right person and by doing the right work. Think about it. A farmer doesn't stand in the field yelling, "Where's my harvest? Where's my crop?" The harvest only comes when the farmer gets obsessed with planting seeds, nurturing the soil, watering the field, and protecting the plants. The result is the natural reward of consistent effort. So my advice is simple: fall in love with the work. Fall in love with the practice, with the repetition, with the discipline. Don't get addicted to the applause. Get addicted to the routine. Because if you master the routine, the results will take care of themselves. The key is this: success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. And who do you become? The person who shows up, the person who keeps their word, the person who works when it's boring, when it's quiet, when nobody's watching. Remember this: discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. If you put in the small effort daily, you'll avoid the crushing weight of what could have been. Some people quit too early because the results didn't come fast enough. They go to the gym for 2 weeks and say, "Where are my abs?" They read one book and say, "Where's my wealth?" But the truth is, results are slow, invisible, and delayed. They show up only for those who keep showing up. So here sits the formula. Decide who you want to become. Results follow identity. Fall in love with small, consistent action. Daily disciplines compound. Detach from the outcome. Don't get impatient. Keep your eyes on the work, and the results will sneak up on you. Most people spend their lives fixated on the prize, but very few spend their lives committed to the practice. We live in a culture that celebrates results, trophies, promotions, wealth, recognition. Everyone wants the applause, the spotlight, and the rewards. But what they forget is this: results are not a target you hit directly. They are a natural byproduct of the habits you build, the disciplines you repeat, and the character you forge along the way. Getting obsessed with results is like staring at the scoreboard in the middle of the game. Your eyes are on the numbers, but your hands are not on the ball. Success belongs to the one who keeps playing, not to the one who keeps watching. Think about the farmer. He doesn't stand in his field demanding, "Where's my harvest?" He knows the harvest doesn't come because he wants it. It comes because he worked for it. He tilled the ground, he planted the seeds, he watered the soil, and he nurtured the crops through storms and drought. The harvest arrives as a result of his daily care. The same principle applies to every area of life. You don't get fit by wanting abs. You get fit by showing up at the gym, eating with discipline, and moving your body even when you don't feel like it. You don't become wealthy by staring at your bank account. You do it by working, saving, investing, and learning the principles of money day after day. The problem with obsessing over results is that they are outside your control. You can't decide the exact day your body transforms. You can't control when a breakthrough in your career finally happens. You can't force recognition, applause, or opportunity, but you can control the work. You can control your habits. You can control your effort and your attitude. And when you take care of the controllables, the uncontrollables take care of themselves. That's why Rohn used to say, success is something you attract by the person you become. You don't chase it. You grow into it. This is why results are deceptive. They're like shadows. They follow you when you move, but you can't grab them by reaching out. If you chase the shadow, it slips away. If you keep walking with purpose, the shadow follows naturally. When you obsess over results, you grow impatient. You want to skip steps. You compare yourself to others. You look for shortcuts. But when you obsess over the work, you develop patience, persistence, and mastery. You're no longer frustrated by the lack of quick returns, because you know the work itself is shaping you into the kind of person who will eventually deserve the results. Here's the truth: the scoreboard never lies. but it also never changes until the game is played. That's why the wise person doesn't fix their eyes on the scoreboard. They fix their eyes on the practice, the drills, the fundamentals, day by day, play by play. They trust that if they stay consistent, the numbers will eventually reflect the effort. That is how champions are made, not by craving the medal, but by loving the training that makes the medal inevitable. So when you're tempted to get discouraged because the results haven't shown up yet, remind yourself of this principle: results are a delayed reflection of past effort. Today's effort creates tomorrow's outcome. The fruit you see in the future is the seed you plant right now. If you want to change the harvest, you don't complain about the lack of fruit. You go back to the soil, you plant better seeds, you nurture them daily, and then you wait with patience, knowing that the law of the harvest never fails. The question is not, when will I get the results? The question is, am I willing to fall in love with the process? Because when you do, results stop being something you chase. They become something you can't avoid. Fall in love with the process. That is the golden secret of lasting achievement. Most people start with energy and excitement, but their motivation fades when the novelty wears off. They get bored, they get restless, and they begin searching for quick results. But greatness has never been built on quickness. It is built on long, often boring, consistent practice. If you want to separate yourself from the crowd, you must learn to find joy in the repetition, satisfaction in the routine, and pride in the discipline. The truth is, the process will test you in ways that results never can. Results are glamorous. They're what people post on social media, what gets celebrated in public. But the process happens in private. It's the early mornings when nobody claps. It's the long nights when nobody notices. It's the sweat, the repetition, the discipline of showing up when it would be easier not to. The process is lonely, but if you fall in love with it, you'll never feel empty. Instead, you'll feel alive because you know that every small action is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. Think about the sculptor. A masterpiece is not created with one strike of the hammer. It's thousands of tiny, patient, deliberate strikes against the stone. To an outsider, it looks repetitive, even dull. But the sculptor is in love with the work. They don't obsess over when the masterpiece will be finished. They lose themselves in the rhythm of chiseling, shaping, and refining. That is what it means to fall in love with the process. The results eventually appear, but by then the sculptor has already won, because they have mastered the craft. This principle applies to every field of life. A writer must love the act of writing, not just the idea of holding a published book. An athlete must love the hours of training, not just the victory on game day. A business person must love solving problems and building systems, not just the profit at the end. When you learn to fall in love with the boring, unglamorous details, you unlock the kind of focus and resilience that few people ever experience. Now here's the paradox. When you love the process, the results tend to come faster than expected. Why? Because you are no longer distracted by impatience. You are not constantly measuring progress or comparing yourself to others. Instead, you are immersed in the work itself. Time disappears. Obstacles shrink, the work becomes play. And when you reach that level of flow, consistency becomes natural, and results begin to compound. But let's be clear, it's not easy to love the process at first. In fact, your emotions will often fight against it. The beginning stages are filled with discomfort. Your mind will say, this is tedious, this is too slow, this isn't working. That is where discipline enters. Discipline is the bridge between your current dislike for the process and your eventual love for it. You show up even when you don't feel like it. You do the work even when it seems pointless. Over time, repetition turns into rhythm, and rhythm turns into passion. What once felt like a burden becomes a source of joy. Falling in love with the process also protects you from discouragement. Results are inconsistent. Sometimes they appear quickly, sometimes they delay. If your happiness depends only on results, you'll live in constant frustration. But if your joy comes from the process itself, you always win. Every day you show up becomes a victory. Every repetition is progress. Every small step is fuel for your confidence. You no longer need to wait for the finish line to feel successful. You live in success every single day because you're doing the work that matters. So the challenge is this: shift your perspective. Don't look at the process as something you must endure on the way to results. Look at the process as the very thing that transforms you. Results may give you a reward, but the process gives you growth. And growth is far more valuable than any trophy, any applause, or any paycheck. Because once you fall in love with the process, you have the power to build success in any area of your life again and again. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Those few words carry a lifetime of wisdom. Every day, each of us is faced with a choice. Do we accept the small weight of daily discipline, or do we postpone, procrastinate, and eventually face the crushing burden of regret? Discipline is never easy, but it is always lighter than regret. The real question is not whether life will be hard, it's whether we choose the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Think about it. Discipline asks you to wake up a little earlier, to read when others are scrolling, to save when others spend, to exercise when others rest. These actions feel small, like ounces you carry in your pocket. You can bear them. They don't break you. But when you neglect discipline, when you trade it for comfort and convenience, the weight accumulates in silence. Years go by and suddenly you're carrying tons of regret. Regret for the opportunities missed, regret for the potential wasted, regret for the person you could have become. That is far heavier than any discipline ever required. Discipline is the seed of freedom. It feels like restriction at first, choosing not to indulge in certain pleasures, choosing to delay gratification, choosing to stay consistent when you'd rather quit. But over time, that discipline creates options. The disciplined saver has financial freedom, while the undisciplined spender has debt. The disciplined student has knowledge and doors opening, while the undisciplined one has excuses and closed opportunities. The disciplined athlete has strength, while the undisciplined one has weakness and regret. Every small act of discipline builds a life of freedom. Regret, on the other hand, traps you. It chains you to the past. It fills your mind with what if and if only. Regret steals your energy, your joy, your confidence. And here's the harsh truth: you can never go back and fix it. Once the moment is gone, it's gone forever. That is why discipline, though it may feel heavy in the moment, is always the lighter choice. Discipline preserves your future. Regret steals it. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds. One small act of self-control today leads to bigger victories tomorrow. Reading 10 pages of a good book each day might not change your life immediately, but after a year, you've read several books. After 5 years, you've built a library of wisdom inside your mind. Skipping dessert once won't transform your body, but consistently choosing health over indulgence will reshape your energy and strength. The weight of discipline never grows unbearable, because your capacity to carry it grows as you practice. Here's the secret: regret also compounds, but in the opposite direction. One missed opportunity leads to another. One bad habit multiplies into several. One excuse today becomes a lifestyle tomorrow. Before long, regret becomes so heavy that people are crushed under it, and they look back wondering how life could have been different if they had simply chosen the lighter weight of discipline. This is why you must train yourself to value the small disciplines. Don't look at them as punishments or sacrifices. See them as investments. Every ounce of discipline you carry today removes a ton of regret from your future. Every choice to stay focused, to honor your commitments, to do the work is like lifting a small weight that builds your strength for tomorrow. One day you will stand at a crossroads. One path leads to pride, the other to regret. If you choose discipline, your pride may not come immediately, but it will come. You will look back and thank yourself for doing what was hard when it was easier to avoid it. If you avoid discipline, regret will greet you. And regret is relentless. It whispers in your ear late at night. It asks you what could have been. It reminds you of the life you let slip away. So the choice is clear. Carry the ounces now, or carry the tons later. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. Discipline shapes your character, sharpens your future. and strengthens your spirit. Regret leaves you empty, weak, and wishing for another chance you'll never get. Every day decide which weight you'll carry. Choose wisely because your future depends on it. Consistency outlasts impatience. That truth alone separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who quit too early. Most people begin their journey with excitement and fire in their eyes. They start strong, fueled by motivation and visions of success. But soon, when the results don't appear as quickly as they hoped, impatience takes over. They say to themselves, "This isn't working," and they walk away. What they don't realize is that the seeds they planted were just about to break through the soil. If only they had remained consistent, they would have seen the harvest. The greatest results in life rarely come instantly. They are delayed. They are invisible at first. They live in the hidden spaces of effort that no one else sees. A tree does not grow to full height overnight. It spends months, even years, developing roots underground before the branches ever appear above the surface. Those roots are invisible to the eye, but they are essential to the tree's survival. Your consistent effort is the same way. At first, nothing seems to change, but beneath the surface, your habits, your skills, your resilience are taking root, and one day they will produce visible fruit. Impatience is the enemy of growth. It whispers that if results don't show up quickly, they never will. It convinces you to chase shortcuts, to abandon the routine, to jump from one thing to another without ever finishing what you started. Impatience promises speed, but it delivers failure. It makes you dig up the seed before it has time to grow. Consistency, on the other hand, is slow, steady, and reliable. It does not need applause. It does not demand immediate results. It simply shows up every day and does the work. And over time, consistency always wins. Think about the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. The sprinter burns out quickly. The marathon runner paces themselves and endures. Success in life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The impatient person spends their energy in bursts, chasing excitement, quitting when the rush fades. The consistent person learns to keep moving, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one notices. And because of that steady pace, they cross finish lines that impatient people never even see. History is filled with examples of consistency beating impatience. Edison didn't invent the light bulb after a handful of tries. He stayed consistent through thousands of experiments. Athletes don't achieve greatness by practicing only when they feel like it. They train day after day, often in silence. Writers don't finish books by waiting for inspiration. They write consistently even when the words come slowly. In every field, the story is the same. Impatience quits, consistency wins. The challenge is that consistency often feels unrewarding in the moment. You go to the gym and your body doesn't transform overnight. You read a book and you don't become a genius the next morning. You put away a few dollars and your bank account doesn't explode. But what feels invisible today becomes undeniable tomorrow. The compound effect of consistency turns small, almost unnoticeable steps into massive progress over time. The one who embraces this truth gains an unstoppable advantage. Impatience is fueled by comparison. When you see others succeeding faster, you feel like you're falling behind. But success is not a race against others. It's a commitment to your own growth. Consistency keeps your focus on your lane, your path, your progress. It reminds you that as long as you keep moving, you will get there. The impatient person may seem ahead for a while, but their lack of endurance eventually catches up with them. The consistent person, though slower, never stops, and therefore always finishes. So when you feel discouraged because the results haven't shown up yet, remember this: the results are already on their way. They're building beneath the surface, waiting for the right time to appear. Your only job is to keep showing up, day after day, step after step. Ignore the clock, ignore the scoreboard, and trust the process, because consistency will always outlast impatience. And in the end, the one who refuses to quit will always be the one who wins. Identity shapes results. Who you become determines what you achieve. Many people chase success without first asking themselves the most important question: who am I becoming in this process? They focus on external outcomes, money, recognition, status, but overlook the inner foundation that creates those outcomes. The truth is simple. Your results will never exceed your identity. If your habits, mindset, and character do not align with the success you want, the results will not last. Take, for example, someone who wants to be wealthy. They might get lucky, inherit money, or stumble into a temporary windfall. But if they haven't developed the identity of a disciplined, responsible, growth-minded person, that money will vanish just as quickly as it appeared. Why? Because results are fragile without identity. Wealth, health, influence, success, all of these rest on the foundation of who you are becoming. That's why Jim Rohn often said, if you want more, you have to become more. Identity begins with self-image. If you see yourself as inconsistent, unworthy, or lazy, you'll unconsciously create results that match that identity. On the other hand, if you decide to see yourself as disciplined, resilient, and capable, your actions will naturally align with that belief. You cannot consistently behave in ways that are out of alignment with how you see yourself. This is why transformation is not about doing more. It's about becoming more. Change the picture you hold of yourself and the results will change too. Think of an athlete. They don't simply go to the gym to get in shape. They become the kind of person who trains daily. Training is no longer just something they do. It is who they are. Or consider a writer. If they only write when they feel inspired, they will never complete a book. But if they embrace the identity of being a writer, then writing becomes part of their daily rhythm. They don't ask, should I write today? They simply write because that's who they are. This is the secret. Identity drives behavior, and behavior drives results. If you only focus on results, you may force yourself into action temporarily, but it won't last. If you root your actions in a strong identity, consistency becomes natural. You don't have to fight with yourself every day. You just live out who you already believe yourself to be. But identity is not fixed. It can be shaped. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you want to become. Each time you act with discipline, you cast a vote for the identity of a disciplined person. Each time you learn, you cast a vote for the identity of a wise person. Each time you persist through difficulty, you cast a vote for the identity of a resilient person. Over time, those votes accumulate, and they form a powerful identity that sustains long-term results. It's important to understand that identity is more powerful than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but identity anchors you. When you identify as a leader, you act like one even when you don't feel like it. When you identify as a healthy person, you make healthier choices without constant debate. When you identify as a lifelong learner, you continue to grow long after the excitement fades. Results become automatic because they are simply the reflection of who you've become. So ask yourself, who am I becoming? Am I building an identity that can sustain the results I desire? The results you want are not out of reach, but they are waiting for you to step into the identity that matches them. Wealth belongs to those who become disciplined stewards of money. Influence belongs to those who become people of value. Health belongs to those who become committed caretakers of their body. Success belongs to those who become consistent students of growth. Your results are not random. They are mirrors. They reflect the person you are right now. If you want different results, don't just chase them. Transform yourself. Build the identity of the person who deserves the outcome. Because once you do, results are no longer something you struggle to reach. They become the natural expression of who you are. Stop focusing on the trophy and start focusing on the training. That's the heart of the message. Too many people live their lives chasing the applause, the recognition, the big win at the end. They dream about standing on stage with the medal around their neck, but they avoid the sweat, the repetition, and the daily grind that actually earns that medal. The truth is, the trophy doesn't make you a champion. The training does. The trophy is just evidence of the work you've already done in silence. Think about an Olympic athlete. The world only sees them compete for a few minutes, maybe even seconds, on the global stage. The cameras capture the victory, the celebration, the moment of glory. But what no one sees are the years of early mornings, strict diets, exhausting drills, and countless failures. The athlete doesn't win the medal on the day of the competition. They win it in the training sessions, long before the spotlight ever arrives. The competition only reveals what was already built in private. When you obsess over the trophy, you set yourself up for disappointment. Why? Because the trophy is outside your control. Judges, markets, timing, circumstances. These things often play a role in whether or not you receive recognition, but the training is always within your control. You can choose to show up. You can choose to give effort. You can choose to stay consistent. And when you make training your obsession, you guarantee progress, regardless of whether the trophy comes quickly or not. The irony is that those who focus on the training usually end up with the trophies anyway. Why? Because they've built the habits, the discipline, and the skill that make them stand out. Their craft becomes so refined that recognition eventually chases them down. On the other hand, those who chase the trophy without valuing the training often give up when the reward doesn't appear soon enough. They wanted the glory, not the grind. And in life, the grind always comes first. This mindset applies far beyond sports. In business, the trophy might be profit or status. In learning, it might be grades or degrees. In fitness, it might be the body transformation. But in all these cases, the outcome is just a reflection of the training. Profits come from learning the details of your craft, mastering your industry, and serving your clients consistently. Academic success comes from hours of study, focus, and persistence. Physical transformation comes from daily movement and disciplined eating. The trophy is never the cause of success. It is the effect. One of the dangers of focusing too much on results is that it creates impatience. When you don't see the trophy quickly, you feel discouraged and you quit. But when you focus on the training, every day becomes meaningful. Every practice session, every rep, every page you read becomes a victory in itself. You stop asking how long will it take and start asking how far can I go if I keep showing up. That shift in mindset changes everything. Training is where you build resilience. It's where you sharpen your skills. It's where you learn to endure boredom, overcome obstacles, and push through fatigue. The trophy doesn't give you strength. It only rewards it. The training is what actually transforms you into the kind of person who deserves success. That's why it's dangerous to crave results without craving growth. If you somehow get the trophy without the training, it won't last. But if you do the training, the results will eventually follow, and even if they don't come right away, you still win, because you've grown stronger in the process. So here's the challenge. Fall in love with the training. Wake up excited to practice, even if nobody notices. Celebrate the small wins along the way. Focus on progress, not perfection. Let the daily grind be your reward. When you live this way, the trophies of life can't be avoided. They'll show up sooner or later. But even if they don't, you'll still have the deeper reward. The pride of knowing you did the work, you became better, and you lived up to your potential. In the end, the trophy will gather dust on a shelf, but the person you become through training will carry you for a lifetime. That's the real victory. If you put in the effort, you'll be amazed one day when you look back and realize how far you've come. That's the beauty of discipline. It works silently, but it speaks loudly in the long run. So let me leave you with this. Stop obsessing over the trophy. Start obsessing over the training. Stop dreaming about the applause. Start mastering the craft. Because when you get obsessed with the work, the results will come, and they will chase you down. Thank you.